Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the weather's been okay today, right? It seems like it's been a good day to be outside. Anyway, thank you for being here at I/O. Thank you for joining us at one of the first session slots. My name's Ben Galbraith.
And I'm Francis Ma.
Together, the two of us product manage Firebase along with a big team. And we're really happy to be here to talk to you about what's new in Firebase. This is our agenda. What we do is first give a bit of an overview to Firebase for those of you who are new to the platform. And then we're going to spend a few more minutes talking about Fabric and what you can expect from Fabric and Firebase working together. And then we'll spend the majority of our time on a whirlwind tour of what's new across the wide swath of Firebase. We have a lot of material to cover, so we're going to keep it pretty high level, but we're going to point you to more detailed sessions that are happening after this talk that will go into various more levels of details.
So since day one, our mission has been to help you build a better app and grow your business by providing many of the tools you need in solving the common problems throughout an app development lifecycle. For example, if you're just starting out building a new app or looking to build a new feature, you might need to set up some back-end infrastructure quickly and easily, like having your own login system or a database to store and sync data. Or let's say if you've built an app and you're looking to fine-tune the performance and the stability of it, and you need a tool and have a way to monitor whether errors are happening out in users' hands. And if you're a serious developer looking to run a business, it's important that you have insights to how users are using your app and perhaps a way to refine and fine-tune your app experience to enhance user engagement and retention. Now, we want to provide many of these tools to help you solve these common problems so that you can channel more of your precious time and energy into building a differentiated business and app and focus on running your app to be successful.
So this sort of vision that Francis talked about comes together in two basic categories in Firebase. Tools that help you develop your app and tools that help you grow your business or grow your user base. And all of these are designed to help with common problems that we've found in our own careers as software developers and that we've learned from you as we've partnered closely with the development community to understand what problems you're facing and what you'd like to see us address. We also find opportunities to base Firebase off learnings from Google's own internal tools that we've developed to help us develop at scale and release some of the billion-user applications that we talked about earlier today. We try to have all these tools integrate really well together and also integrate with the rest of Google. Some of those integrations include the Google Cloud Platform. Many of our developed tools are built right on top of Google Cloud, which gives you that scalable foundation that can get to planet scale as you need it. Another example is Google Analytics. The analytics tool inside of Firebase is built by the Google Analytics team and AdWords. And so all of these integrations really give you these on-ramps into these sort of scalable growth paths as your app gets bigger. But Firebase gives you this great way to get started in a really easy way. Generally, all of the Firebase products are available on iOS and Android, with one exception, TestLab, which is Android only. And then where appropriate, we've also introduced SDKs for other platforms, such as the web, C++, and Unity. And we had games developers in mind with the C++ and Unity support when we created it.
So to hear how all these tools work, let's hear from one of our partners, Wattpad.
Right now we're working on a brand new storytelling experience called Tap, which is all about stories told through text messages, through chats.
The Tap team started off very small. We didn't have a lot of resources to test out a lot of libraries to help us grow very quickly.
Firebase gave us the ability to take what we would have done in many different places and integrate from many different services all in one place in one convenient package. And it allowed us to integrate that package and just get going with our development almost immediately.
The real-time database allows us to have schemaless storage, which means we can change the schema whenever we want.
We wanted to have the tap counters increment on the stories as the users were browsing through them, so you could kind of get a sense in real time what people were doing and what they were reading. And with Firebase, this is a trivial thing to implement. You basically just add a watcher onto the count nodes, and it comes back to you in real time.
Since our app is supported on both Android and iOS platforms, Cloud Functions come in very handy. When a user makes and publishes a story, the Cloud function gets triggered and we send a notification to all the friends of the user so that they know that they made a story and published it.
There are times where we don't know whether or not to build a feature or to roll out a feature, and so we would use remote config and test it out with a smaller group of users first. And then we would look at the analytics dashboard, and when we see that the feature is actually performing really well, we would deploy it at a larger scale. Remote config really made it fast and easy for us to make these really, really important product decisions.
We've reduced our typical app deployment schedule by more than half. That allowed us to go from effectively 0 to a working product in production, and that time span was just phenomenally fast for us. The app has been really, really well received in both Google Play and the iOS App Store. We've had over 1 billion taps in Tap so far through Tap Stories. We've had, in the first weekend that we launched our Story Writer, 25,000 people wrote stories. Firebase gives us the ability to focus on what we know best. That's storytelling. And that's giving our users the ability to immerse themselves, to interact, and to participate with stories in ways that were not available before.
So congratulations to the Wattpad team on the success of Tap, and thank you for building and growing with Firebase. So we have just highlighted one story, and we feel really privileged to have many partners from around the world who've taken this journey with us and have also found their own success story through Firebase.
In fact, over 1 million developers have built apps with Firebase, as I mentioned earlier today, and this incredible momentum since we've unveiled this expanded Firebase. So we just want to say thank you to all of the developers who have partnered with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for starting the applause over there.
And it's through these inspirational stories, as well as the feedback from developers like you, that help our teams continue to work hard and expand the platform. Over the last year, we've made 40 major releases and over 100 updates to continue to refine and expand the platform, some of which you've heard today. And also, we're going to go into some of these in more detail. Now, as we walk through each one of these sections, we're also going to be mentioning additional sessions that you'll find at I/O to learn more about each one of these topics over the next coming days.
All right, so as many of you know, in January, we joined forces with Fabric. They'd previously been at Twitter. Fabric was this mobile platform that provides great tools for app teams to build, understand, and grow their apps. The missions of our team and their team are really similar. And so from the beginning, this has been a really, really great arrangement coming together. We've long admired the team and the impact that they've had. Over 580,000 developers have used Fabric. They've been a pioneer in this space with Crashlytics, and we're working really hard to bring the best of these platforms together. We're going to talk about progress we've made in 2 areas here.
The first step we're taking is to bring Crashlytics into Firebase as our combined flagship crash reporting solution. Crashlytics is a tool that provides real-time insights into the stability of your app with information like app crashes and errors that are happening out in the field. And it also provides info like stack traces and device info to help you diagnose the issues. Now, what's cool about it is that in addition to showing you these errors, it also shows you how these errors impact business metrics like user retention so that you can prioritize and fix these errors accordingly. If you're an existing user of Crashlytics or Firebase Crash Reporting, we're going to be bringing these products together and paving a smooth transition path forward over the next coming months. And if you're eager to get started right now with the industry-leading crash reporting solution, we recommend Crashlytics.
All right, now I want to talk about digits. Fabric pioneered this great phone number authentication solution, and the Digits team and the Firebase team teamed up to create Firebase authentication, phone number authentication features. And I want to show you how this works. So you start out with a screen like this, and with Firebase authentication, you can use third-party authentication providers, as well as your own email authentication system, and it manages all that for you. And now you have sign in with phone number. So you enter the phone number, and then we verify that this is a new user or an existing user, and then we generate a one-time code associated with the request. The user sent the code through SMS. They enter the code in the phone, and then once they've done that, we verify that the code's right. We handle all the deduplication logic that's necessary for multiple resending, and then we mint a secure user token and persist the session on the device. And you've got a signed-in user.
We've built on top some of the best learnings from Digits and have also added some additional benefits for Firebase authentication. First is greater stability. Firebase Auth is built on the same telephony infrastructure that is used by Google's own login system and in many of its own products. Second, we are providing a headless API for you to fully customize the UI of that login experience. So this isn't just a template where you can configure a couple of parameters. You can implement the entire UI layer on your own using this headless API. And to make it easy for you to get started, we have an open-sourced UI library that implements some of the best practices of a sign-in experience that we've learned over the years so that you can use that as a quick way to get started. And since it's open source, you can go in and tailor that specifically to the look and feel of your app. The third update that we've made, the third upgrade to this, is improvements on the Android experience. Now, we've deeply integrated with Android so that the user sign experience is a lot more seamless. First, as Ben showed you, through the login experience, we're able to automatically read the device's phone number and the verification code so the users don't have to manually enter those. And also, if the device has been verified recently, we wouldn't even send the verification code. And what that means for your users is just a one-tap experience forward. To get started on phone number auth, we're making this free for up to 10,000 verifications per month. From our learnings in Digits, we expect that over 90% of apps will be able to use this for free. Now, if you're wildly successful and you want to continue to scale, it's at 1 cent per verification for users in US, Canada, and India, and 6 cents for users worldwide. To help us focus and continue to innovate faster, we'll be sunsetting the Digits brand and the SDK. For existing Digits integrated apps, we'll be creating a migration guide and an auto import tool so that you can import your existing user base and auth tokens over. What this means is for your users, they will not have to re-authenticate when you migrate systems. So we're working hard to ensure there's a smooth path forward for you. Firebase Auth is available today on iOS and web, with Android rolling out in the coming weeks. As well, for existing Digits developers, we'll be releasing the migration tools in the coming weeks as well. So you've just heard some updates on this front. We're super excited to have the Fabric team join us. It's only been 4 months, but we're working really hard to bring the best of our platforms together. Now, we're also moving deliberately to ensure there's a smooth transition for our developers going forward. If you have more questions, and if you're interested to hear more about our vision, we'll be hosting a fireside chat right here at Stage 7 tomorrow morning with Rich Paré, the general manager of Fabric, Andrew Lee, one of the original co-founders of Firebase, as well as Jason Titus, the VP and head of our developer product group.
OK, so let's get into our next category of updates around the build faster and easier segment. This incorporates the real-time database authentication, which we just talked about, cloud storage, hosting, and cloud functions products. And let's dive in. So 2 months ago, we announced our public beta of Cloud Functions for Firebase. This gives you an easy way to take a directory of JavaScript functions or mini directories and deploy them to the cloud using our CLI tool, our command line tool, Firebase Deploy. Each of these functions that you create is automatically mapped to a URL so you can directly invoke them, but you can also map them to Firebase events, such as an analytics conversion event, when your users have done something that's particularly important to your business, or certain types of real-time database updates, or anytime a user signs in. All of these can trigger one or more functions that you've deployed. You can use these integrations to do things like send out user notifications when a user is signed up, or thank them for an in-app purchase. You can do image resizing, video transcoding, or machine learning on photos that have been uploaded. You can transform data before you save it to your database. And you can also integrate with external service providers using webhooks. One of our startup partners, Woo, integrated with Cloud Functions and had this to say about it. They found that they were able to move 3 times as fast at 15% of the cost of apps, 50% of the cost of their normal processes using functions. And we think that this is really a powerful model for your development moving forward.
Relating to functions, one of the announcements we have today is the integration with hosting. Hosting is an easy way to serve static content like HTML, CSS, and images. You can configure your own custom domain, and we'd automatically provision an SSL certificate for you, and also serve it behind a global CDN so your users get a secure and fast download. Now, with the functions integration, what we do is we can now take requests coming into hosting and proxy it over to functions for additional server-side processing. So what that means is, in addition to serving static content, you can now use hosting with functions to build a fully dynamic web app. And so the other cool thing, the really cool thing about it is because functions is integrated with other parts of Firebase and also with the Google Cloud Platform, you can continue to integrate your web app with things like Firebase Auth that we talked about earlier, or really any other backend components. Put more simply, you can create a powerful, progressive web app completely serverless right on Firebase. We have an additional session to specifically talk about the functions and hosting integrations tomorrow afternoon at 5:30 with David East on our team.
All right, so hosting is how you can store static files that you need during your app's runtime. And we have another product called Firebase Storage, which is about storing assets that are dynamically generated at runtime. This is backed by the Google Cloud Platform storage product. What's new for us this year are 2 things. First, we've unlocked the ability for you to map existing Google Cloud Storage buckets that you've signed up for already into your Firebase project, whereas previously you couldn't do that before. The other piece is you can now choose the region in which you want to store your data. There's 2 reasons why this is important. One, for regulatory reasons, you often want to control the country in which your data resides. And secondly, it can often lead to performance improvements if you're able to specify where in the world you want your data located. So these are the improvements we made to cloud storage.
And then, of course, there's real-time database, Firebase's original product. The real-time database is a cloud-hosted JSON database that lets you store and sync data across connected clients in real time. So if you're building any real-time synchronous apps, like a chat app or a shared whiteboard or any kind of real-time collaboration apps, database makes it really easy because whenever you write data, it would automatically push the updates to keep all your concurrent connected clients synced in real time. Now, we have concurrent limits of up to 10,000 users today, and now we're expanding up to 100,000 simultaneous connections with this update. So think about this. 100,000 simultaneous users can plug in and connect to the database, and we would automatically push this, keep them in sync in real time for you. Okay. Additionally, we've recently introduced a profiler to allow you to introspect the bandwidth and latency at path-level granularity to help you understand the usage of your data. So we just talked about several of the back-end services of Firebase. We have a dedicated session right after this here, same stage at 3 p.m. with Andrew Lee, one of the original co-founders, and also Michael Bly, one of our eng leads, to talk about how you can use Firebase along with Google Cloud Platform to build modern apps.
All right, the next section we want to run you through is app quality. This is critical. No one wants their user sessions interrupted with a crash or poor performance. And in fact, over 50% of the poor app ratings we see in the Play Store come from quality-related issues. So we have 3 products focused in this area: crash reporting, test lab, and performance. We talked about crash earlier. We're going to start with performance monitoring. So performance monitoring, when you declare dependency on performance monitoring, in your Firebase project, you automatically get monitoring of your app startup time and also of network requests. We show you 4 aspects of your network requests. We show you the response time, the payload size, your success rate, and time spent waiting versus downloading for network traffic. So this is a powerful introspection into what's happening with your app. And you can also add your own time-based measurements. We call them traces. With these, you invoke a function at the beginning of your code and at the end that you want to measure. And then you can also supplement them with something that we call counters. So the scenario you can think of here is you can measure how long a certain request takes, and you can track how often you are able to successfully cache or miss on that request. And the cool part about performance monitoring is that we collect all these metrics for you, and then you can, through the console, drill in through a variety of different filters to see exactly what's happening across the world.
Yeah, we're really
One of our partners, WPS Office, implemented this. We had an EAP program for performance, and they found that they were able to increase performance by a significant amount as measured by click-through rates. They said they got 3 to 5x improvements on their click-throughs after they used Firebase Performance to see how long a certain part of their application was loading. This is something they just had no idea about. And in our experience, this is typical for developers. We just don't do a good job in general of instrumenting this data. And we think all of us are going to be pretty surprised once you start to see this data so easily at what's happening all over the world with our apps.
Yeah, we're so excited about the new release of the performance reporting tool, so sure to check that out. So we mentioned Crashlytics earlier, and we just talked about performance reporting. These are tools that help you monitor errors after you've shipped your app out in the user's hands. For Android developers, we also have Firebase Test Lab. With the diversity of the Android ecosystem, you may not always have access to the most popular devices to test your app with. And so this is where Test Lab comes in. Test Lab gives you access to physical and virtual devices hosted in Google's data centers. It's super easy to use. All you have to do is upload your app APK, and we have a robocrawler that would automatically traverse through your app to find errors and crashes. And when it does find it, we'll send you the error logs as well as a video capture to help you diagnose and fix the issue. Now, what's cool about Test Lab is that you can also run many tests in parallel as though you have a full team of QA engineers. So you can configure this in a matrix of different tests. For example, testing different devices, device models, the different device orientation in portrait mode or landscape mode, different OS versions, as well as different locales. Now, one of the new things that we're adding is first-class support for games. So if you're a game developer, you can now use Test Lab as well to automatically run through your test loop. Adding to that, we're also reporting performance metrics so that you can see your CPU, memory, and network utilization. So I just talked about being able to test in different configurations. We're also expanding Test Lab for you to simulate different network connections or network conditions, whether it's 4G, 3G, or slower, to see how your app behaves in the real world when the network connection varies. Also, we have expanded our device selection. You can now test on Samsung S7s as well as the Google Pixel. And of course, with Test Lab, you get access to the latest version of Android O, so it's a great way for you to get started to make sure your app runs well with Android O. Now, I've talked about the simple path of using the robocrawler, where you just upload your app and we'll test it automatically. For the more sophisticated developers, you can also upload your own custom test scripts using frameworks like Espresso, and Test Lab would run those manual tests for you as well. Test Lab can also be integrated with popular continuous integration systems like Jenkins, so that you can integrate this right into your development flow. For example, every time you have a build, it can automatically kick off a test through Test Lab. So we just talked about some of the tools on how you can use Firebase to improve your app quality. We have a dedicated session later on today here as well at 4 p.m. with Nolan and Justin, the product and eng lead in this area, to talk about how you can use Firebase to improve your app quality.
OK, that brings us to the next section. What's new in our Grow-related tools? So this is a broad category that includes a lot of stuff. We only have time to cover analytics, cloud messaging, and remote configuration. We'll dive in now. So starting with analytics. Analytics is this free and unlimited tool that lets you instrument your app. And the reason we made it free and unlimited is we wanted to open up the opportunity for you to deeply instrument your app. We want you to add events everywhere you can so that you can have a really, really rich and granular view of what's happening in your application. This tool was built by the same Google Analytics team that's been doing this for over a decade. And so we've been able to take all the learnings of running the largest web analytics platform into this product. We've also integrated it with the rest of Firebase, which, practically speaking, means that you can target audiences of your users. Think of groups of your users with all of our products that are identified by analytics. So you can use this to, for example, send messages to just certain types of users, to use remote configuration, to test your application on just the right set of users, and it works really well. It's also integrated with BigQuery. This is important because BigQuery gives you this ability to dive in and explore your data in a variety of different ways using a SQL-like dialect that's really powerful. So you can explore your data in depth and find out exactly what's happening. So what's new in analytics?
Well, recently we had announced a feature called Stream View. Stream View provides a real-time streaming view of events that are coming into your app rendered in this new UI. As you can see on the screen, you can drill in by location, user properties, and events to see how users are using your app right now. For example, how many users are at level 5 of my game right now in Brazil? So it's a great way to see what's happening. Now, relating to Stream View, you can also drill in deeper, specifically down to the individual user level in a view called User Snapshot. So you can zoom into a specific user and see the events that are coming in. So this is a great way for you to, it's like doing a user study and watching how users are interacting with your app to see if they're using it in the way that you're expecting. It's kind of like doing Logcat remotely on the device and able to see how users are using it. Relating to Stream View is another feature called Debug View that is near and dear to my heart as a developer. Now, instrumenting your app and getting it all the details right before you ship it is oftentimes pretty hard. It's kind of like writing 1,000 lines of code and expecting it to compile syntax-free, bug-free, all in one shot. Now, maybe some of you can do that all the time, but certainly I'm not that good. And so this is where Debug View comes in. Debug View provides this dynamic timeline view of events that are coming in from your connected development device. You can, again, zoom in to see the events that are coming in, examine the values and user properties to ensure that you have instrumented your app correctly. And if you do have a syntax error, or say you have an invalid character, or if the string is too long, it would also automatically flag that for you. So it gives you a quick way to iterate and make sure that you've instrumented correctly before you package up your app and ship it out to your users. Another enhancements that we've made to analytics is the integration with Google BigQuery. As Ben mentioned, BigQuery is our petabyte-scale cloud-hosted data warehouse where you can do data analysis using SQL queries. And with the analytics integration, what we enable is raw data export from analytics into BigQuery. And what's cool about that, it means you can also join additional data that you might have. For example, one of our partners, NPR1, had created a universal user ID across their mobile app clients. So taking that data, the analytics that are coming in from their mobile clients, they're also able to map that ID from their server-side logs to see end-to-end how users are interacting with their app. And it's a great way to also join all the data across platforms to get a full view. One of the enhancements relating to this is that we have enabled real-time event streamings for conversion events from analytics into BigQuery. Another aspect is we have enabled the connection of a tool called Data Studio, which is part of the Google Analytics suite that allows you to build custom data visualizations and reports on top of BigQuery. So let's think about this. You have analytics that can export raw events into BigQuery, and now you can use Data Studio to build your own custom report right on top of that. So what that means is essentially you can create your own analytics UI suiting to your needs. And as I mentioned earlier, because the conversion events can be streamed in real time, these reports can be fresh to show you the most important metrics for you. And another thing that we're providing relating to the Data Studio are pre-made templates so that you have examples to work off from to get started quickly in building your own custom reports.
All right, let's talk about cloud messaging. Firebase Cloud Messaging gives you an easy way to send notifications to your users, either programmatically in response to events, for example, or manually with a console you can use in the Firebase website, the Firebase console, to go in and send a message to a particular set of users. FCM works across iOS, Android, and the web. And our recently released FCM JavaScript SDK makes it even easier for you to set up your website to register to receive notifications. We've also made a series of other enhancements to FCM. First, we've expanded its ability to target users with notifications by letting it send notifications based on user properties. So user properties are really, really granular attributes of users that include things like the version of the OS that they happen to be using, the version of the app that they're using, and it can be properties that you come up with as well that you assign to your users. And so now you can send notifications just to the set of users that map particular custom attributes that you're interested in. For iOS developers, we've also made a series of enhancements. First, we've added support for token-based authentication for APNS, which is really important for the iOS community. We've also added support for Apple's HTTP version 2 API, which means you can use larger payload sizes in your notifications. And we now have a bulk import feature for APNS tokens. So it's easier for you to migrate from using APNS tokens to FCM tokens as you interact with FCM. And finally, we've simplified the logic involved with registering with FCM on iOS. So we've made FCM a lot easier to use if you're an iOS developer and expanded its capabilities overall.
Another tool to help you with user engagement and tuning retention is remote config. As the name suggests, remote config lets you change the configuration of your app remotely and on the fly. Very similar to FCM, you can also do this targeted based on different user segments by different user properties, device type, OS versions, and also custom audiences that you create through analytics. The config itself, it's just a simple key value map. So it's simple and yet flexible to do many things. For example, you can change the value to control a feature rollout. Or say you can change the value to manage a different price for something that you're selling in your app, or maybe even changing the value to modify a button label to different audiences to see which one performs better. As an example, we have one of our partners, Cookbook Recipes, that had used remote config to customize their own user onboarding flow based on the user's location. So users who are from India would get one personalized experience, and users from Italy would get something else. By using remote config, not only were they able to get this started quickly because they don't have to worry about creating their own infrastructure or manage the scaling, it allowed them to modify and fine-tune the user experience and the onboarding flow. And what they saw through the tweaking of these onboarding flows was the increase of over 200% of new user signups. So we've just touched on some of the tools that help you use Firebase to grow and engage more users. We have another session here tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. with Jumana and John, two of our product managers in this area, to talk more about how you can grow with Firebase.
OK, now we're going to talk about the last section, which are the new developer resources that we've created to help you make the most out of Firebase. To start out with, we want to talk about Fastlane. So Fastlane came into Firebase through the Fabric team, and it simplifies releasing your iOS and Android apps by automating many of the tedious tasks associated with that process. So think about building your app, generating and localizing the screenshots that you need, code signing, deploying to the App Store. All of these things can be automated. This product is fully open source and customizable. It's got over 180 built-in actions and another 160 actions created by the open source community, and it's passionately loved by its community of users. So we encourage you to check it out.
We've also created resources to help developers learn more about Firebase. For those of you who are in interactive learning, we have an online video course through Udacity to teach you more about Firebase in a weekend. To date, we have over 15,000 developers that have completed this 3-day course. So if you're into interactive learning as opposed to reading documentation alone, this is a great way to learn more about Firebase, whether you're just getting started or looking to expand your integration. Check it out at udacity.com/Google. Hearing from our customers and incorporating feedback is a key part of our product development process. And we would not be here today without the developer community and feedback from developers like you. So thank you for that. And we're looking to expand our ability to collect feedback with the launch of a new Firebase Alpha program. The Firebase Alpha program provides early access to some of our in-development features so that you can have the opportunity to provide early feedback and also help us shape Firebase. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you. Please sign up at firebase.google.com/alpha.
Finally, we also shared that we're open sourcing many of our SDKs. This is a really big effort for us, and it's a long-running effort. And we've made enormous progress at getting to this point. We've open sourced these SDKs at our GitHub repository, github.com/firebase. And you can see the source for many of our iOS, JavaScript, and admin SDKs right now, with more to come in the coming months. This is a really important initiative to us, and we'd love your feedback on these projects. We'd love for you to get involved, and we'd love for you to tell us more about what you want out of our open source efforts. Finally, we have a bunch of additional sessions today, tomorrow, and Friday on Firebase. And we have a short URL there that takes you to the Google I/O site with a Firebase filter for you to review all those sessions. You can also filter it yourself. We'd love for you to come to the sessions to learn more. We also have dedicated office hours times when you can come and talk to the Firebase team. Generally, the Firebase team are all those folks in the yellow shirts. There are a few sneaking around in the blue shirts, too. But they're all back there. We'd love for you to just stop us anytime, ask us questions. This is really your opportunity to engage with us. Let us know what you think and how we can better serve you. And then after the talk, we also have a sandbox area where you can also ask us follow-up questions.
So you've just heard us talk about some of the updates we've made to Firebase. You might be wondering, so what's next?
Yeah, we thought we'd share a couple of thoughts about where we're headed. Overall, we're on a mission to simplify development and app success. And we're interested in making the biggest impact we can in this area. And so you're going to see us continue in this next year to update Firebase throughout the year to do more things here. More specifically, serverless is a big theme for us. We're really excited about empowering you to focus your energies on the client, which is really where your users are interacting with you, and let us do the heavy lifting behind the scenes on all the infrastructure and give you a world-class, high-performance back end. I think of sort of the idea of full-stack development and taking that stack of things you have to know and reducing it down so that you can be really productive, knowing less and worrying about less.
Another big theme for us in the year ahead is to continue to deepen the integrations within Firebase products so that you can continue to get more value out of Firebase as you continue to use more and have these components working better together. Speaking of working better together, we had mentioned about having the Fabric team join us at Google, and we're going to be continuing to work hard to bring these platforms together to ensure they all work better together. Another key theme is also with analytics being the core of Firebase. We want to continue to provide more insights to you so that you can better understand how users are using your app, and also provides insights to help you use Firebase more effectively. What we want to do is we want not only provide the tools, but to make it also easier and empower you to continue to build a more successful business.
So we're going to continue to help you develop, and we're going to continue to help you grow your app success. Thank you very much for spending this time with us. We just barely got through the overview. Please continue to engage with us here, also through our Google group, and everywhere else that we are, also on Twitter, and help us understand what we can do to better serve you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.